I just got a free Apple iMac. So I live in a giant community with about 3,400 single family homes, and we have a giant Facebook page with like every single house, like whoever lives in this house, they're probably going to be on this Facebook page. And everyone knows that I like refurbish Macs and things like that. So I'm just sitting down having dinner, and I get a messenger notification for someone reaching out in the neighborhood saying that they have a Mac that they just want to give to me. So they ended up making a post on Facebook and they said, "Can Jaden Walter please send me a message?" Which is me. And I went ahead and did that. And they said, "Hello, we noticed on Facebook that you like to refurbish computers. I have a Mac computer that can not get the OS to load on and was wondering if you'd like to have it." Absolutely. So I agreed to meet, I grabbed my keys, went out the door, and I met them at a random park at 8:40 p.m. A little bit sketchy, but it's a free iMac we're talking about. And here is the iMac, which came with a first-gen Magic Keyboard and trackpad. Even just the first-gen keyboard and trackpad are worth about $50 together. Now, I believe this Mac is the 2009 or 2008, maybe even earlier iMac, mainly because it has that 24-inch screen, so it's not super landscape, size, but it's more kind of like a square. So for a size standard, this is a 27-inch 2020 iMac, and as you can see, they are the exact same height. If not, the iMac might be a tad bit taller, but they're pretty much the same height. This is a lot taller though. So if I take the iMac, put it in front of this thing, pretty much hides it. So this one's it's taller, but it's not as wide. As you can see, the 27-inch pretty much just takes over the whole thing. And then here's kind of a back standpoint, but it is still a really big iMac. So let's go ahead and grab the Magic Trackpad and the Magic Keyboard. I believe these are the first gens. So let's go ahead and set it down there, make this setup look real good. And let's go ahead and boot it up. Whoa. Now I do have a macOS El Capitan USB drive that we can use to install macOS El Capitan. It makes it a lot easier. As you can see, it's taken a real long time. So this is the Mac that came before, I guess it's 2 generations before this. So that Mac came before this Mac here. So this is kind of the spin-off of that generation. And before that is this one. So here's all the Mac generations. As you can see, we have the 2020 iMac down there. We have the 2011 super thick Epic iMac, as well as this, I believe, 2006 to 2008 iMac. And then we have the original iMac G5. Now, this iMac G5 came out in 2005, in 2004, around then. And this thing is pretty useless now. You can't even install macOS Lion on here because it has an Intel Duo, not a Core 2 Duo. And then over here, we do have this newer generation, which is a spin-off of this. It's much nicer, super sweet looking. Much bigger as well. This has a Core 2 Duo, and then we have the generation after that. As you can see, this one looks more sleek, a spin-off of this one, of course. And these have Intel Core i5s in them, besides the 2009 generation. And then this one here is the super nice one. This is my 2020 personal one. As you can see, it's gotten a lot thinner, and it's obviously a spin-off of that, but they look pretty similar. So it says we need to connect. I don't know if these have battery in them, but we'll see. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have battery in them. So we might just need to connect some wires because I don't really want to charge these. I didn't feel like wasting batteries, so we're going to go old school. All right, so let's go ahead and bypass whatever this thing is with the language. Let's go ahead and erase whatever's on here. This has a 640 gigabyte hard drive, which you don't really see often. Usually Apple does like 256, 512, 1 terabyte, stuff like that. 640. That definitely means it's got one of those old mechanical hard drives and not an SSD, which is expected because, it's free and it's this. Let's try this. This would be using the Wi-Fi, and a lot of times when installing, okay, this is Yosemite. We'll see if this works. So I'm guessing it's not partitioned correctly, because we're only coming up with the USB drive, and we're coming up with a recovery hard drive of 650 megabytes.
A few moments later.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can put macOS El Capitan on this hard drive, and then hopefully plug this hard drive into the iMac so then I can load it up and install software onto the original hard drive inside of the iMac. I know that sounds absolutely confusing, but just watch me and we'll go ahead and see if it works. Well, I believe it is working. All right, and it does seem to be working. We're now running El Capitan on this. So I believe all we got to do is just unplug this, and we should be able to plug it into the iMac and set it all up, and then install El Capitan on the original hard drive. All right, so it is plugged in now. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on and see if we can get into the hard drive. iMac C2D 2024, 500 gigabyte. See if we can load it up. It thinks that this is the newer version. Obviously, it's the older version. You can tell with the aluminum panels going around. And here we go. We're finally booting into El Capitan. And by clicking the Apple logo at the top, we can go to About This Mac. And it should pop up which Mac this is. So this is a early 2009 one. I figured this would be a 2008 or older, but no, this is the 24-inch early 2009 with a 2.93 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo processor and 4 gigabytes of RAM. And we'll go ahead and click in memory here. So we do have 2 gigabytes installed, which is not a lot, obviously. And the older or newer versions, I should say, have the 4 slots. And this does have a NVIDIA GeForce GT 120 256 megabyte, which is obviously not that good. But this is a 2009 computer that we got absolutely for free. So here's when I started having issues with this iMac. Basically what happened is trying to install macOS El Capitan and macOS Yosemite. Those two updates are the only Mac updates that require you to put in your Apple ID to download them, because for some reason inside of the recovery screen and really just any sort of download for that software, it requires you to sign in with your Apple ID to Apple's network. And unfortunately, those two softwares, since they're pretty old, we're talking like 2014 and 2015 software, those are no longer supported, obviously. So they don't really properly connect to Apple's App Store. So it always comes up with an error when trying to download using the Apple ID. So we're back at it again, and there's no way I can get macOS El Capitan onto the hard drive. So I'm just going to take this whole thing apart, and I'm just going to put this hard drive in there, and then we'll call it quits. And with 2 suction cups, we can just tilt the display, and we should be able to just pop it off now. And as you can see, here's you can see in the glass here, all of that smoke. We can clean this all out. And with all the screws out from here and on the bottom, we should be able to just pry this metal piece off the plastic. All right, so we are now inside, and we can see the wonderful hard drive sitting right here next to our power supply, all ready to go, ready to be taken out. Hopefully this should be easy. It really doesn't look easy, but hopefully it is. So the hard drive is in. Let's go ahead and give this thing a test and not break this webcam. All right, let's turn it on. It's probably spew a bunch of dust everywhere. Amazing, absolutely amazing. All right, and it looks like we are good. Let's go ahead and give this thing a good old clean. With some paper towels and isopropyl alcohol, we should be able to just wipe up all of the smoke residue in here and all the dirt that's been in here for so long. And as you can see, we do have this smoke pattern in here from all the fans blowing around, and looks like soot or just something gross. Could be just a bunch of dust, which is usual. So we'll go ahead and set this down. I have 2 of the suction cups still here, and then a piece of foam over here just to make sure that I don't crack this glass. So let's go ahead and clean this up and make it all nice. So after cleaning up the iMac and installing the hard drive and putting in all the screws and putting everything back together, we had a free 2009 Apple iMac with a fresh install of macOS El Capitan. Alright, and here it is. This is our fully working 2009 Apple iMac. This thing is ready to go. Unfortunately, there's not much you can really do with macOS El Capitan. This is a great computer, though, if you're just doing simple things like documents, browsing pictures, going on the web, writing emails, simple stuff like that. There's not many applications that still run on macOS El Capitan. But this thing does have a CD drive and a DVD drive, so you can watch movies on this nice display. This computer, though, is a pretty simple computer. I mean, it's kind of like an iMac Lite, if that was a thing. This is a great, computer if you're just looking to do, simple things. If you need like a quick little office computer or something for your kids, this thing's perfect. Now, there is this website called Open Core Legacy Patcher. This is a patcher that lets you put the newer versions of macOS on unsupported devices. So you could put macOS Big Sur or macOS Monterey on this computer. However, I do not really recommend that you do anything higher than Monterey, just because this thing can run pretty slow, and since it's only a Core 2 Duo, it could have some issues with newer software. This Mac only has 4 gigabytes of RAM, so you could upgrade it to 8 gigabytes of RAM, which would make it run a whole lot better. And like I said, upgrading the hard drive to an SSD would make a huge, huge difference. But all being said, this is the free 2009 Apple iMac. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please stay tuned for more epic videos. Thank you guys.